Welcome back to Tea with the Shepherd. We are now on the fourth day, part 4. And today, since we finished yesterday, the last part of chapter 25, I said I would do something different. So today I'm going to invite my son to come and join us and just have a talk. Since he loves the word, come have a seat next to me. He loves the word. He loves to study with me. And train up a child in the way they should grow. And so he's going to get to talk with me about Matthew 25. So you read it. What did you learn? What stood out to you? What is something you learned? What is something that stood out to you?
Well, something that meant really important to me was that you should be ready because you don't know when the time will come for you to do whatever it is that you need to.
So what is supposed to happen? What are we being ready for?
So we got to be ready for whatever comes our way. And trust in Jesus to help us when we're ready.
Do you know that the chapter is talking about Jesus' second return?
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's all about when Jesus is going to come back and he's going to take us away to be with him. Do you know that?
Really?
Mm-hmm. So what we're preparing for is what?
What we're preparing for is Jesus' next coming.
Yeah. So how can we be prepared?
By loving him and obeying him and by reading the word.
Very good. What about the first story? It's the parable of the 10 bridesmaids.
That's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. So what happened? Which ones went to the wedding?
The 5 that were wise.
And what made them wise?
Because they took oil along with their lamps. But the foolish ones didn't bring it. So when the bridegroom was there, the foolish lamps were actually going down and they needed to fix it. So they asked for oil from the wise. But the wise said, go buy your own. And so they did. And while they were gone, the bridegroom came and the 5 wise ones were all ready. And they went to Jesus and they went to the ball with them.
Yeah.
But the foolish ones came and wanted to come in, but he said, I don't know you, so keep watch because you don't know when the hour and day will come.
Very good. So what does that mean? Who is the bridegroom in the story?
Jesus.
Jesus, yeah, because he's coming again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what about the bridesmaids? Who do you think the bridesmaids represent?
Us.
Okay. What about the 5 wise bridesmaids? What sets them apart from, what do you think that means about us? How does that represent us? What's the difference between the 5 wise bridesmaids and the 5 foolish ones when it's talking about, so it's talking about oil and the lamps, but what about our lives?
And it's kind of like the oil that makes us light.
What kind of oil makes us light? What does the oil represent? What does the oil represent?
It represents our lives and how we live. If we don't follow Jesus, then we wouldn't have been with the maids.
Okay. So do you think we need to be filled with the Holy Spirit?
I think so.
You think so?
So that way we can be ready when Jesus comes again.
So if we are filled with the Holy Spirit, do you think it would allow for the for the bridegroom to be able to recognize us because he sees himself in us? Does that make sense? So if Holy Spirit is part of the Godhead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And so the Holy Spirit lives within us. Then guess what? When God and Jesus sees us, who does he see?
The Holy Spirit inside of us.
The Holy Spirit, who is also part of the Godhead. He recognizes, he perceives us, he knows us. So if we are filled with the Holy Spirit and we're prepared for his coming because we have the Holy Spirit within us.
Really?
But if we don't have the Holy Spirit, like the oil of the foolish bridesmaids, if they didn't have the oil of the Holy Spirit within them, can Jesus see himself in us?
Nope.
No. So when he says, I don't know you, he's looking for those who have him inside of us. But if he doesn't see,
then he won't let you in.
We can't go in. Okay. So what about the next story? The parable of the loaned money of the
parable of the talents.
Yep, the parable of the talents. So what did you learn about in that one?
Well, I learned that you have to do what the master does, like what the master tells you to, and do what he says.
Okay.
If you don't, then you won't be able to get more. If you do obey him, then you can gain more money.
So does it have to be money?
Yeah.
Is it only money?
Not only money, but it can also be the Holy Spirit.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Well, these men, they were given certain talents. Do you have talents? Do you have some skills and talents God has given you? Did God make you special?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did
even more than $1,000?
He did make you very special, more than $1,000. You're right.
Yeah, more than the talent.
More than the talent. So, if God has put talents and skills inside of you, should you use them for God?
Yes.
Yeah. Should you make sure that you're using them in a way that advances God's kingdom?
Yeah.
To multiply. Is that something you do when you share the gospel of Jesus with others?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Like when we shine our light to Mr. Simpkins, that's actually helping him too.
Yeah. So when we are sharing with other people, guess what? It's like lighting a candle. So we have a candle. And if we keep that candle only to ourselves, we're only lighting up our life, right?
Yeah.
But
if we share it, then we can shine others' lives too.
Yeah, so we still have a candle lit. We share it with others, and that candle goes more and more and more. Well, that's what these men were doing. They were investing in other people. They were sharing with other people so that way they could grow their master's money.
Yeah, and the one who gained 5 talents gained 5 more.
Yeah, so
and the one with 2 talents gained 2 more.
You're right. So
they doubled the number.
They did. So if somebody lights a candle, and I just have one candle, and then I light your candle, and then you go and light a candle, and I'm lighting another candle, are we going to end up with a lot of candles at the end of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have a lot of candles lit if we actually do something with our candle and we share it. But if we don't, like the foolish man here did not share it, he went and buried it. Yeah. So did it go anywhere?
Nope.
No.
It just stayed stayed on the ground.
Yeah. So the master wasn't very happy with him, was he?
Yeah. He said, "You wicked, lazy servants." Mm-hmm. And if you want to look at Matthew 25:26 through 30, mm-hmm. then you'll actually see what the master does.
You're right. Okay, so what about the last part? In your Bible, it says something different, right? The sheep and the goats. Mine says Jesus tells about the final judgment. So in that section, what did you learn about?
Well, it's kind of like Jesus actually separates the sheep and the goats. Mm-hmm. So the goats are going to be on the left, and the sheep will be on the other side.
Do you think he's talking about actual animals?
No.
No, what do you think he's talking about?
He's actually talking about us.
Aha, yeah. Okay, so which ones are the sheep? Which ones do you think are the sheep? What do they represent?
I think clean people who have accepted Jesus as their heart in their heart.
Well, guess what? Both the sheep and the goats are both clean animals. They were both considered clean and to be worthy of sacrifice. Did you know that?
Really?
So, if that's the case, then the sheep and the goats both represent people that say they love God.
Really?
So then why are they being separated?
So maybe that way they don't get confused.
Well, okay, do you think that um, there's some sort of a difference between the sheep and the goats?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the difference? What is God saying is the difference between sheep and goats when it comes to Christians?
Well, they maybe because some might not like Jesus a whole lot, and maybe some just want to be God's sacrifice and be willing to die for others.
Oh, that's a good point. So some people are willing to die for God. They're willing to put everything on the line. They're willing to help other people to do everything they can um, to put their talents into work, right?
Mhm.
And to follow after God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength. They have the Holy Spirit within them. But then there's other people who say they love God, but do they really serve Him?
Um. No.
No. Sometimes they say they love God, but they don't, and they don't bear the fruit.
Mm. And also,
Mhm.
remember what you said earlier?
What did I say?
People who are willing to die. That's actually kind of what reminded me on book 14 of the Imagination Station.
Okay.
James was willing to die
Mm-hmm.
for others.
Yeah. Were they being persecuted for their faith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they did escape, but James was willing to die.
Mm.
And the captain actually said that James had figured it out for himself. And I think I would have been so surprised if I was on that ship.
That would be pretty surprising. Okay,
Yeah.
last thing. Anything else that stood out to you in this chapter before we end?
Well, it actually, like, a lot has, and that, and it's been a while. So I've actually read it more than once, and there's a lot of stuff.
There is a lot of stuff.
So I really like reading it, and it's very good. So I do want to read it again.
The Bible is filled with
Times.
awesome wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Just
thank you for joining me and talking with me today. I love you.
love you too.
Join us tomorrow.